what about real estate do most people just not know or understand?
I think the first thing is that they think that they have to do it themselves, right? And I think the biggest secret for me that allowed me to scale into real estate very quickly was learning and being okay with that I did not have to be the person who owned the home directly in my name, and I could invest with other people who were experts in their domain or their base. For us, it's short-term rentals, but out there's multifamily, there's office, there's commercial, there's manufactured housing, data centers, whatever your niche is that you think is interesting to you and will add value to your portfolio. But you don't have to do it yourself. In fact, in my opinion, most people would probably be better off not doing it themselves, right? And rather investing with someone who's doing it as their job, as their career, rather than someone who's kind of half-assing it through.
Well, Steve, thank you for sharing your message. And those that are in our community, you'll have access to techvestor.com. They'll just click the link in the show notes. If you don't know how to spell it, don't worry about it. Just head over to the show notes and check out the link there and take advantage of at least getting the primary or the preliminary call on the book so that you can see what this investment opportunity is all about.
Here's what you can look forward to on this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
And when we talk about these partnerships as husband and wife couples, then when there's a little wrinkle, when there's a little challenge, you lose your way. At least I do as a man. It's like, and I don't mean to be sexist on this, but it's like, well, what am I doing all this for if she's not with me enjoying it? What's the point of this thing, So then you've got to go back and find out where you went wrong, fix it, repair it, make it better, and move forward.
The Nice Guys on Business podcast. They had me at hello. Running a business is hard. Being a business leader is even harder. The Nice Guys bring in top industry pros to help your business prosper in a tough world. Get real advice from real people to get you real results today. Now it's time for the Nice Guys on Business. Here's your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Okay, Nice Guy community. Today we are in for a treat because we all know that starting and running a business is hard enough. Now, you combine that with adding your significant other to the mix, and you potentially have a recipe for disaster. That's if you handle it wrong. If you handle it like me, you handle it wrong. If you handle it like anybody else, you probably can do it right. But let's try to not have a controlled crash along the way. Well, our guest today is Eric Nutting. He is a certified holistic life coach and certified business coach. He also works with his wife, Dianne. So I understand the complexity of working with a partner. I think the joke is the only common denominator of every failed relationship I've ever had, including my 2 ex-wives, is me. So I'm going to find out a little bit about what maybe I did wrong. Eric, man, I'm excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here too. I don't mean to chuckle, but I mean,
chuckle away.
it's funny because if we can't have just a little sense of humor, then it becomes way too serious.
No, I agree. And I think in our first conversation, when did we talk, about a month ago, something like that, maybe a little bit more
like that. Yeah.
So when we were sitting across from each other and I discovered what you did and how you did it, and then the fact that you actually don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk also, because it sounds like your wife is involved in your business. I'm like, hey, this would be an interesting conversation to have. So I don't even know where to begin other than what do most people do wrong when it comes to putting together a business with their partner?
What a great question, because I'm not so sure there's any one thing that anybody does wrong. I think whether we're flying solo or we've got a partnership or, groups, the question is, where are you trying to get to? And do you have a reasonable path to it? We just then kind of complicate it when we bring these intimacies into these sort of like business relationships. So, I can't just close the office door, and say, okay, well, I'll deal with that tomorrow, because the office is traveling with me in the car and we go home and we deal with it. So how do you make these divides? How is there good communication, and when do we turn off, and how do we, when I deal with clients that aren't in business together, we talk about compartmentalization, and that's not always healthy either. Right. But I think when we're dealing with husbands and wives, we have to say, hey, listen, this is date night. We are not even going to touch business.
It's like, that's almost impossible though, because I remember in my first 2 relationships, first 2 marriages, actually, my first wife I was married to for 20 years. My second wife, which I affectionately call my starter wife, was my second wife, because that was only 2.5 years or something like that. We always were involved in business. I don't think the failure of the relationship came as a result of the failure in the business. I think that I don't. There was never a challenge in that area, but I can see where people really have a tough time with that. It's like, hey, you're fixing dinner, you're talking business. You know, you're going for a drive in the car, going to the movies. Every once in a while, there's a business thing that just pops into my mind, and I don't have the filter to turn it off. Is that a common problem?
I love you so much for even bringing that up. So I don't know how many years I've been married. I think it's been like 30 or 34, something like that.
You better figure it out quick.
We got 5 kids. We've been through 3 businesses, and we just got back from this 4-day sabbatical. It was planned. It was intentional. And I said, listen, before we even went out, we wrote lists down. I said, listen, you're going to have to manage me. You're going to have to say, hey, listen, pal, this is a no business zone.
Yeah.
And we said it was a kind of a planning for 2023 also. So we said we'd carve out some business time. But like you, it's all my mind does. I just think I've got a creative mind. I just think about, what are we going to do next? What course are we going to create? Who can we reach? How can we reach them? But that gets tedious for your other partner. I've become this huge fan of these 5 love languages. Are you familiar with that?
Oh,
Dr.
hell
David Chapman?
yes. Oh, my gosh. That's one of my favorite things.
So here we are now, right?
Words of affirmation, baby. That's
Yes.
me. That's me.
But is mind-boggling to me. You know it on some level intellectually, but when you finally accept the fact that love is a choice, now I have to say, well, what does my partner want? What does she need? Does she want to talk about business right now? Maybe not. You know, we were on the beach in this place called Ruskin, Florida. Nothing but water in the city of St. Pete in the distance. Well, do you think she wants to hear about, how I want to grow the business in 2023?
I don't know that. See, I don't know that because it just is a matter of, I agree with you. Chances are better than not that she probably doesn't want to hear what your 2023 initiatives are. But at the same time, it's like, and I'm not saying that there's anything sexy to that, but success as a couple, there's nothing hotter than that. When you together, the combination of you two it exceeds the sum of the parts.
Yes,
that makes life so good. And for me, that's totally fucking hot. I love that.
Yes, yes, I'm so with you on that. And I think that's kind of where my passion kind of overrides all that. And then I found myself apologizing. It's like, but I'm with you that it's that success. And when we talk about these partnerships as husband and wife couples, then when there's a little wrinkle, when there's a little challenge, you lose your way. At least I do as a man. It's like, and I don't mean to be sexist on this, but it's like, well, what am I doing all this for if she's not with me enjoying it? What's the point of this thing, So then you've got to go back and find out where you went wrong, fix it, repair it, make it better, and move forward.
Is there success as a couple in business together where you have a successful business and a successful relationship? If the business is going well, the relationship goes well. If the business is going bad, does the relationship go bad also? Or is there a way that you can have the positivity of either one of those things being good or bad, but still have a successful other?
Wow. So the older I get,
there's a lot in there.
I know that people can't see me, but I already said I had 5 kids. We've been married for a lifetime. I'm 56 years old. This is what I'm learning as I reach these milestones here. Ego is a bitch. And how do we strip it out, but how do we still use it to move forward? So your question will get a longer answer. How do we measure success? How do we define success? If you're in business together as a husband and wife, now we've got to worry about success of the marriage, success of the family, success of the business. You damn well better be on the same page.
Yeah.
And you better have markers in place to figure out what that means. And we better have our regular meetings to make sure we're on track.
Well, I love the markers thing and I never really thought about it that way. If there's a clear-cut level of expectations between what is supposed to be and what is, I think that you guys, no matter look, you succeed and fail together. So if you have a successful business, then great. Maybe that's a benefit to the relationship. If you have an unsuccessful business, as long as there were some clear-cut expectations, when is it okay for us to be husband and wife or partners, and when is it okay for us to be, collaborative partners in this business as well?
Right. And parents. I'm working with a couple
that too.
with little kids, right?
Yeah.
So if they're both working like 60, 80 hours in the business, when are you parenting? When are you doing that? These kids don't care about your business at all.
Well, don't you generally find that one of the partners is kind of I don't want to say the leader, but aren't one of the partners in the relationship the leader in the business, meaning that they spend the more time? And oftentimes that is, let's say it's the guy in the relationship. He's the one that's putting 60 hours into the business. And the downside of it is the wife can't put the 60 hours in either, because she's spending, 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours with the kids, right?
So yes, and you're absolutely right. And it's not always the husband or
right.
the father. Sometimes it's the wife, the mother taking the lead. But when I'm saying we've got to get on the same page, what's more important, the business or the family? Well, I'll tell you the family. First and foremost, the family's way more important than business.
Yeah.
We can close businesses and start businesses. Why do we want to close a family and start a new family? That's not necessarily the greatest path forward to balance, to health. I won't even say success, because that's up to the individual or the couple to define. But I'm talking just about, my kumbaya, mind, body, spirit, metaphysical, holistic balance. And balance is elusive. Balance is temporary. But again, we have to define that for ourselves. So if I'm saying, okay, well, I'm going to go work 60 hours and I've got my kids playing t-ball, where's my priority? So we have to come up with systems. We have to come up with a team, and we have to come up with boundaries. We have to create boundaries for ourselves and for our partnership that says, hey, listen, bedtime's 10 o'clock. We're not going to talk about this. And I can encourage and I know I'm going off on tangents, but I
do
encourage
it, man.
everybody to unplug as much as possible. I was just talking to a client yesterday, and they're in a habit of checking the stocks because the market's not super duper right now. And he goes, man, what do? I use my phone for emergencies. I said, do you have a Bluetooth? Well, go put your phone in the kitchen, hook up the Bluetooth, and if it's an emergency, if it's one of the kids calling, you'll know. But you can't wake up at 3. Right. What's going on in the market at 3 a.m? But this is the challenge. And every problem has a solution. We just have to be brave enough to ask the right question. And then we have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to give up to get what we think we want? So if I want to be successful in business, well, am I willing to give up a happy marriage? Is that worth it? I don't have the answer for each individual, but it's a good question to ask.
I think the biggest challenge is finding what is that balance point where both of the in the couple are satisfied, happy, feeling appreciative of the other. And I think it's the biggest challenge is, things like the unplugging from technology. Yeah, that's a really hard thing. That's a really hard thing when you have a business that is run by technology and run on technology in both cases. Oftentimes, many of my clients, in my particular case, I have a business that I run. JJ has a business that she runs, and we have a business that we run together. So we have these 2 other businesses, and we have the combination business that we have as well. And the biggest challenge is, okay, now I've got to be sensitive to the fact that she has another business. I have another business, and we have the combination business. And when is it okay to be talking shop? When is it not okay to be talking shop? I love what you said, though. It's talking about the agreement that you guys have. As long as you have some sort of terms, like if you're following the terms and you're meeting or exceeding the expectations, I think people will remain happy. It's once you go outside of that, I think that's when the challenge begins.
So what have the 2 of you worked out as far as finding this balance?
Well, maybe this might be not part of the problem, because I don't see that there's a problem, but maybe this is a part of the potential future problem that's out there, is we don't really have an agreement. Look, you're going to spend this amount of time working. Now, that's not true. We have an anti-agreement. The anti-agreement is is on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we're going to walk between 8 a.m. and 11. We're not going to put any work stuff in between that time. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to go to the gym somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock and spend an hour there. So 5 days a week, we have physical activity that we have planned together. Sometimes we talk business, but we're also doing the physical activity. So the benefit of that is that we have that, I was joking before I hit record with you about, I have a very busy schedule. My entire Mondays and Fridays are always block off. There's nothing and if there happens to be an appointment that has to come in that day, then I'll let it, but it won't be between that 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. time frame. So other than that, we don't really have an agreement with, what about technology? Do we turn off? She doesn't take it to bed. My phone sits on my nightstand. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. So there's just things that we have agreements about, some things, and some things we don't really have agreements about.
So I love this. What great insight. So we say, is it good? Is it bad? I like to ask people, is it healthy or is it unhealthy?
Yeah.
And the other part of this is, it's not a problem until it's a problem. I don't like to I don't like to create problems to solve. I like to identify the right problems, problems that exist. So it sounds to me like at this moment, everything's great. Well, you guys block out time?
Well, what was really good was that before moving here to California a handful of years ago, before that, it was a problem because I didn't have any guidelines. I was like an open highway without any guardrails. And I like the riverbanks river idea where you have the riverbanks. I mean, you can't go outside the riverbanks. If you do, that you're spilling over into territory that isn't safe to be there. So, right. So the gym time and the together time and that is what we use as our, let's call it the guidelines for success in our relationship.
Right. I don't think I even really completely addressed that. How do we share responsibilities in an intimate relationship when we're trying to do business? So you mentioned 50-50 or who takes the lead. But I guess if you just look at a husband-wife partnership, romantic partnership, these generations before us go, well, it's half and half. Nothing's half and half. The thought process is it's 50-50 over the course of a long period of time.
Correct.
But generally speaking, somebody takes the lead and then we switch spots when it's right. There's a dance, right? And
well, as long as you have no power, as long as there's no power struggle, as long as nobody is trying to take the position because they feel they are entitled to leadership, I really don't give a shit. I mean, for me, I'd be okay working 5 hours a week as long as she's comfortable working the time that needs to be worked in order to maintain the level of success that we have maintained in our business together.
So that's my point on the business side of things. And I sit with couples. If it's just the two of them in business, I say, where does the buck stop? Who's got the final say on this? And sometimes I'll look at him and go, oh, there's never a problem. It's like, no, of course there's a problem. Sooner or later, there's going to be a conflict. Who gets the final say on this? It's important to be heard, but I mean, we can't both be right if there's a disagreement. We need to come to some sort of resolution. I
do also like the respectfully surrendering to the partner that probably has more wisdom. And I think that has not been a challenge in our relationship. There's a number of things that I really am very impressed with many of the things that she has done to grow her business. And I know that same skill set can also be translated into our partnership together in our own business. And so many times I find myself saying, I really think she knows better than me. I mean, to myself. So right. So as long as you don't let your ego get in the way, or it doesn't get in the way, I think that you have at least the makings of a good potential relationship, business and personal at the same time.
There's that ego thing again, right? Yeah, it's just such a monster. And I can say that in my younger days, it was conquer and divide. That's the whole thing. Why is there a mountain? It's
to be climbed.
But now I look at the mountain. I was thinking of this today. Somebody's talking to me about roller coasters, and then I don't like roller coasters anymore. But you used to do it for the thrill, and you'd go, what a great ride. And now I'm thinking, why take the ride? I don't need that. I'm 56. I don't want to push those boundaries anymore. I just want to watch people on it. I want to take calculated risks, not be reckless like I was in my youth.
Do you find that a number of the things that you do in your coaching practice are things that you and Dianne had experienced on your own? So you've learned the life's lesson in this, and this is a valuable lesson to be able to teach to somebody else? Or are these theories in process that you see in case studies through your own clients? Not saying you want anybody to be a guinea pig of a resolution that you've never worked out on your own, but at the same time, the reality of it is you probably haven't had all of the problems that you're helping fix your clients through.
I appreciate that. I think that there's a benefit to being old. If there's one benefit, it is the thought process that we've got life's experience and we've evolved if we choose to evolve. So I've learned from that. Knowledge that's not applied is useless. We want to apply that to wisdom. But having said that, I cannot think of one session I've had where I have not learned something. You know, it's always a process, and it's great to be able to talk to somebody. Now, sometimes it's unfortunate that I'm learning through somebody's struggles. I'm learning through their pain.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not the all-powerful Oz. But I do like to think that as we think of coaching, there's a difference between coaching and consulting. A consultant is an expert in a given field that brings their expertise to it. I'm a coach. I work with the client. So I try to define together with them what their problems are. And I believe, honestly, most people have the answer within themselves. We just have to ask the right questions and then go to a place to get the right answer.
So there is when you and Dianne get into arguments, and I'm not saying that you guys get into arguments, but if you have the
never argue,
we never do. Oftentimes you go to, you mentioned a little bit earlier love languages, and so mine is words of affirmation. That's definitely my first one that's out there, and my partner's love language is quality time, and that probably isn't one of the first two on my list. So it's like, okay, we fill our bucket. Just like we know what our love language is. You also, when you get into these arguments, you relate back to your partner the ills that come up every time you have an argument. It's called the CNI, the core negative image. Is there a core negative image that you think that Dianne sees in you every time that you guys get into a little bit of a miff? Like for me, mine might be something like, aloof, or it might be man-child, or it might be something,
yes.
And hers might be know-it-all. And so every time we have an argument, my brain goes to, well, there's that know-it-all coming out again. And she might say, well, there's that man-child coming out of that guy again. So
yes.
What does Dianne think of you when you get into that common argument? Because you're repeating the same argument over and over again. It just has a different cover.
Well, it's interesting because just in parenting, she would think I'm a little too harsh, a little too hard. And then I would come, and I can be a bully at times, and I'm getting better as I get older.
God,
if we talk about
wouldn't put you in that spot, but because
right?
From my experience with you, and in the two, I know better than your wife because she's only known you for 30 years. I've known you for about an hour.
but I am trying to evolve. I am trying to get better. But we've got fight, flight, and freeze, right? Well, right. I have a fight reflex. So if somebody pulls and it's so irritating to lose my temper now these days. But there are triggers. And when it happens, I go, where did that guy come from? It's like, well, he came from 20 years ago, Eric. That's where it came from. So Dianne's complaint about me would be that I am a little bit too firm sometimes when I make a decision. I'm a little bit too stubborn. And so in our parenting practices, so the kids, the youngest ones are 19 now, she would say, hey, listen, you're a little harsh. I go, listen, you know what? And this is my reflex. I say, you be the mother, I'll be the father. We'll be just fine. Well, that's not a reasonable response. Really.
It's totally not. That's like a fuck you. Listen,
there now. You just figured out what her core core complaint is. Yeah, right. That's me. But then now, because I don't like to lose control, I don't like it when these triggers happen. I have to say, hey, listen, I've been here before, and this is what I talk to my clients about. I've been here before. It's okay. Allow yourself to be human, but don't allow it to derail you. So if we think about this process of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, why do we take the 1 step backwards? So we can regain our footing, so we can take the next 2 steps. And I was just talking to somebody about this before you and I had the chance to chat today. And I said, listen, they've got a freeze reflex. I said, listen, allow it, accept it. Right. It's fine. You're fine. Just don't let it spiral into 3 weeks worth of depression. Go be there for 15 minutes, celebrate it, then put on a great song, dance your tushy off, and then now go out and go do this interview. Let's go get her done.
I was looking just to make sure I had this right before I stated who created the core negative image. It's by a guy named Terry Real, The New Rules of Marriage, core negative image, CNI. So if anybody wants to get information on CNI, I'll make sure I put a link in the show notes. How do you overcome awesome. Somebody's CNI? But that is definitely a very cool. I don't think I read the book. I think I lived the book. I think I lived through it.
I have not read it, but I am going to, because I think it's really enlightening. And
it's really cool about the idea of you working with couples and helping them through. Now, do you find that you're working more on the relationship and less in the business? Because you really do have a skill set that will handle both. I mean, you're a business coach, but you're also a relationship coach to a degree. So where do you find that you put more of your efforts in building the success in whatever couple or single person is working with you?
I would say every problem in business is related to the individual. Every problem in business is a person business. It's a person problem. So we do have to figure out where the problem in the business is, but then we have to go back and solve it with behavioral, attitudes.
That's kind of like saying to someone that needs to go on a diet or that feels like they have some sort of weight issue. It's not the food. It's probably the emotional attachment to the food that's really creating the overeating to begin with. So right. There's probably that in business as well. The bad attitude is not coming from your business, the bad attitude or your relationship. The bad attitude is coming from something else that's outside of that is affecting your business and your relationship also.
For sure. And, there's no sort of like certification we need to be small business owners. We have this idea and we go, killer. And we pay our money, we get licensed, and we're off and rolling. We're in business.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden we got to figure it out as we go. And so many people don't figure it out.
Do you find that you and Dianne take separate roles in your business, that you have your, in my particular relationship with my business partner, Strickland, he is a spreadsheets and systems and processes kind of guy. And I find that if I'm stuck in those areas, we're probably suffering greatly. If I ever see myself in a spreadsheet, I know when I'm in a bad spot. But if I ever find myself having a conversation like this with you, or building a relationship, or making a sales call or a part of the sales process, sales cycle, I find like I'm in my element, and I love that. I love that stuff. Do you guys work on everything together, or do you have your own specific roles that you play in your organization?
We have defined our own specific goals. I think the challenge in the beginning is we try to do everything ourselves, and even the two of us don't necessarily have the skill set to do everything. She's got a lot of strengths that I don't have. I am not an organized fellow. Paper is the devil. If I have to keep files, it's horrible.
Yeah,
thankfully, she has a background in that. She's like so awesome at it. So that's one thing. But I think what we do for each other now, more than we ever have, is we point out each other's blind spots, or we remind each other of our blind spots. So we're, when we say we're behavioral specialists, DISC certified, we use the DISC a lot to lead businesses and to lead couples. So sometimes two people is not enough to put together a good team. Where are your weaknesses? Now we have to decide, are we going to develop those skill sets that we struggle in, or are we going to hire out? Do we have the means to hire out?
Nowadays, especially with remote labor and everybody working remote, whether it's remote in the United States or remote outside of the country, yes. It's so much easier to delegate and hire. I know it sounds kind of odd. Look, I run a business by myself. I'm going to have a hard time affording that. And I'm telling you, if you're in our community and you're one of those people that is trying to be everything within your organization, you are the bottleneck. You are holding things back, even if it means spending money to do something else, to bring somebody in to do another task. You've got to do that. It was one of those lessons that I had so much scarcity of money running through my business veins that I was scared to bring in anybody. Once we brought in an operations manager, and then we started bringing in remote editing team, and then remote show notes writers, and remote sales, and all of the different components, then I was like, our business has scaled, not scaled because we're still, we're not a billion dollar company, but we're working our way towards that 7-figure number, which is really where we all want, not everybody, but where we want our business to be. We know it can be there. We just got to get out of our own way. Do most people get in their own way while they're building a business?
Absolutely. And usually it's tied to what? It's tied to fear, right?
Yep.
Fear of letting go, fear of losing control, fear of I can't afford it, fear of failure, fear of success, whatever that fear is. People call them pain points now, and somehow that term really gets under my skin. I don't like it, but it's a very common term right now.
Right.
But it's all the same thing. It's like, and you said, that's where things bottleneck. We got to ask ourselves the right question, and we have to come up with the right solution. So am I ever going to be great at marketing? Am I ever going to be an expert marketer? I hate social media. and I don't say hate too often, but I hate it. I don't have this urge to be an influencer, but I got to reach people, right? Yeah. I've got to get a hold of people somehow. What do they call it? ATM, attract, teach, and monetize. So how do I attract people? Well, I got to get out there somehow. I do love being in groups and talking to people one-on-one. My passion is people. But in this day and age, we reach them different ways, don't we?
Right. Well, Zoom, and since the pandemic, and this whole everybody working from their home, number one, I think it's great because I never have to put on anything other than my pajamas every day, which is terrific, except when I go to the auto parts store to try to fix my F-250 pickup truck. Damn it, that was a horrible experience today. Nice Guy Community, Strick and I will talk about that on Friday, so just stay tuned for that. But it's like I love this environment that it makes it so much easier to connect with people, but it's more challenging to have meaningful relationships with somebody online, even if you can connect this way and it's easier. Just know that you have to be sensitive to the fact that somebody's across a screen now instead of across a table having coffee with you or having a beer or going to a networking meeting. Just be aware of that.
Right.
How, Eric, how do people define success? How do you know when you get to the tail end of your coaching with someone if they have achieved what they wanted to achieve to begin with? And what does that kind of look like in a successful partnership, both from a relationship perspective and a business perspective as well?
So, in the coaching process, I end up being an accountability partner, but then my clients are accountability partners for me. So I always ask as we close a session, I go, what does success look like to you a week from now, or whenever our next meeting is, a month from now, a quarter from now, depending how frequently we meet? And that's the first thing we start out with. I go, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. This is how you define success. Are we there? What did we do? Did we take the steps to it? And sometimes I have to be in more frequent contact with certain clients because they need the help. And that's fine. That's part of the process. But at the end of the day, we have to make the decision. Is this a goal or is this fantasy?
Right.
Either one is fine. It's okay. But we have to be honest with ourselves and say, listen. So I always say, listen, that little 7-year-old Eric wanted to be a baseball player. Well, I'm not a baseball player. At some time I had to let that go. At what point did I recognize that? If you're not willing to pay a certain price in energy to get what you want, most likely you're not going to get it. Am I willing to pay this price? So my clients, I have to say, listen, you say you want it, and this is another thing that gets under my skin. And I'm sorry to ramble, but the 6X, 10X, 50X, 20X, 18,000X, whatever that stuff is, don't worry about it. Just tell me what your goal is.
Oh, you're saying when somebody has a goal of they want to 10X their business by having a relationship with you as their coach, that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure on you. And that's something nobody is in control of. It's really hard. Just get the basics, get the relationship solid, get the business solid, the system solid. Those things will absolutely come when you start using that ego metric of I want to 10X my business. But people do like to tie it back to a number because oftentimes success is tied back to the bottom line.
I think that's healthy. I think it's healthy to say, hey, listen, so where are you at now? I'm, grossing 10,000 a month and I'd like to get to 20. Fine. Great. We've got a good, solid, measurable number. When do you want to get there by? Cool. But these marketing people who, and I get inundated with all the time because I'm a small business. I go, Eric, oh, we need a 20x your whatever. Jump on a call with us and we'll funnel this and we'll scale that and we'll.
There you go. There's your marketing thing. You're like me. I know you hate funnels. I don't even.
I hate it.
I know.
I do, but it's necessary. And I get the concept. I just don't like. And if you talk about these personality tests, I am a nonconformist. If you show me the clear path,
I'll show you a way I'm going to fuck that up really bad. I'm going to take that curvy path to get there.
I'm getting better, but I'll probably sit back and go, well, listen, we could go around that tree. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, but for me, with clients, I ask them what success looks like in a week. And then if they need me to be in touch with them, fine. And then are we there? Why aren't we there? And most often they kick ass,
I think that when you find someone, whether it's a coach or a person in your life that is an accountability partner, I'm not saying anything about, I want everybody that's listening to this to get in touch with Eric. That being said, I also want everybody to know that you can do this also without Eric. The challenge is when you do it without Eric, you don't have somebody that understands the clear path to get from point A to point B. When you're talking to a friend or someone because it's free, yes, you have an accountability partner and that's wonderful, but you don't have somebody that actually has walked the walk and talked the talk as well. So just know that a guy like Eric, who is a learned professional in this side of the space, probably a good idea for you to at least reach out if you're experiencing, and maybe you can help me with this as we get closer to the end of this interview. Maybe help me define some of the symptoms that they might be experiencing right now in order for them to say, maybe Eric is the doctor to fix this symptom. What are the symptoms they're experiencing?
So we talk about balance. And again, that's up to the individual to define for themselves. But if they're always got this anxious feeling, always wondering if they're going to make do, if they're always wondering if they're going to pay their bills, or they don't even know what their numbers are, right? So many business owners have no concept of their budget. That's scary.
Right.
So now we're talking about a husband and wife team. They don't have a personal budget or a business budget. Well, why are you in business?
That is a mess.
That's a concern. So one thing I ask people, to your question, I ask them, what is your purpose? Tell me your purpose. Why do you breathe air? That's not an easy question to answer.
Yeah, that's hard.
Now, once we work on this purpose, I ask you to connect your purpose statement. Husband and wife have individual statements. They need to fuse together so they live in harmony and balance. Now, connect that to your mission statement in business. You don't have to post it on a wall and have your customers read it. And you don't have to say it to them all the time, but they should be feeling it organically. They should understand it. So I know I'm in good hands. I can do business with you. You're going to be what you say you are and deliver what you say you're going to. So if you don't feel these things, there might be time to explore it. And you're absolutely right. I'm not right for everybody. I always kind of joke around and say I'm this like suburban hippie kumbaya guy. And my energy might not be right for everybody, but that's no reason to not get help. You don't have to do everything alone. There's so many great free resources beyond having to pay for something,
Don't Google it. Whatever you do, don't Google it. just call Eric and he'll tell you if you're a good fit for what he does or not. And you know what? You'll know if you're a good fit because chemistry is, everybody that's listening right now, I know that you guys have a gut feeling. You know when you talk to somebody over the years of you doing whatever it is that you do on your side hustle or your regular business, you know what the right vibe is. And if you feel that when you talk to somebody and you don't feel like you're being pitched, if you feel like you actually are being heard, that's the right person for you to work with. So, Eric, what's the best way for somebody if they wanted to get at least some more information or maybe even have a chat with you? What should they do?
They can email me directly, and then we can connect via phone call. So they can email me at enutting@thegrowthcoach.com. So that's enutting at thegrowthcoach.com. And I pretty much work with people until we are able to define a problem to solve. but we tried to do that relatively quickly.
You mentioned, and I don't want to be a spoiler or have a spoiler alert here for anyone that is tuning in right now, but you mentioned that you might be having a book. Is that possible? Are you writing a book? Is it one in the works still? Tell me about that. You said I might have a book out by the time this airs. So tell me about that.
So I don't have it out, but yes, I'm working as PTSP, Plan, Thrive, Survive, and Plan. Suggesting that we all want to be in this thriving state, right? And I call that thriving state partially that state of balance. And if we're not thriving, then we've got to get right back to this planning state so we can get back to thriving. We don't want to survive. Once we feel ourselves surviving, so that's another thing. If a person in business go, man, I'm just barely surviving, it's time to get a little bit of help. There's this process that we go through. So yeah, thank you for that. The book's going to be coming out probably now in February. February 15th is my goal. And it's really just another way to reach people, because some people don't want to spend a bunch of time talking to me because I ask a ton of questions, and then we find an hour, 2 hours, they can just read a simple book, and some people learn better that way. I'm a sucker for learning these things that I don't know. Now I'm going to look up this book you were just talking about.
The New Rules of Marriage. Yeah, Terry Real. Very, very cool. JJ has interviewed him several times on his on her podcast, and I know that he is very well in tune to the whole relationship dynamic. So that's a good book. Also, I'll make sure I put a link in the show notes for the New Rules of Marriage as well. Cool. Eric, thank you so much for sharing your message with our community. I'm hoping that we are able to move the needle for you. I know you're a good guy, and I'm excited to see this my community's feedback and hear what they have to say about you.
Well, I appreciate you and your energy very much. I know it was kind of a challenged few minutes before we had the chance to get together, so I hope that gets resolved easily.
Yeah, I'm driving down the highway. I got Eric on my brain because his meeting is coming up in 15 minutes, and I'm about 20 minutes from my house because I got stranded on the side of the road because I'm a lover of 1967 Ford F-250 pickup trucks. So power steering pump went out. Long story short, I am now home. I was only a few minutes late, but I did warn him ahead of time. So thank you, Eric, for your
But here's
your
the point. More importantly, not only were you here, but you're here with this great energy. I think that's hard to do. You have this nice settled energy about you, and you're ready to be productive regardless of what happened before. And that's an incredible gift. So
that is the wonderful facade that 1,350 episodes of The Nice Guys on Business has given to me. As soon as I hang up, you know where I'm going? Right back out to that fucking truck again.
Their throats. Yeah, I hear you.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you sharing today.
Appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice or the power of an important, really strong power steering pump. Special thanks to Eric Nutting. All of his information, including access to his website right there in the show notes. Go ahead and click that. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
Friday advice and Tuesday interviews with people far more interesting than they are. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Have fun storming the castle.